Hello class. In this video I'm going to talk about how I got these black leaves to actually look green and have a sort of texture quality of leaf color. And what I did in this particular tree up here that I used in the example is I actually used a picture with some slight editing of a real tree of real leaves, and it is just literally this box. Now what you'll want to do is you want to have approximately a square that's bigger than the tree shape you're working with, that has the texture and the colors that you like. It doesn't have to be a picture like this. I will show you in this video how I got a picture of a tree to sort of look sort of solid and square like this. I'll have to use Photoshop a little bit, but you don't have to use Photoshop. You can go in and you can make your own textures using any of the other Illustrator techniques that we've looked at, or experimenting with your own. It just needs to be about a big block that's generally solid colored green, or whatever color you want to work with, because trees don't have to be green, and has the texture quality that you want to give to your leaves. That's all that's sort of required. And the other thing that I sort of liked and was purpose about this one, that from the one corner it's sort of darker to another corner it's sort of the lighter colors. So again, I used a picture of a tree. So what I did is I went to Google and I typed in something like trees. I don't remember exactly what texture I used for that one. But the key, I put the S there because the key is you want something fairly dense to work with. A lot of these trees have a lot of holes in them, and you don't want the holes because we're creating the holes in Illustrator, right? So this tree has got a lot of holes in it, so it can be difficult to work with. So I actually thought this one that had some background trees to block out some of the holes and was a fairly dense leaf pattern, I think it could work quite well. There's a couple holes in it, and I'll show you how to do that, to get rid of that in Photoshop, or at least begin to. So what I did is I just saved this to my desktop, and I'll go into Photoshop, which I already have opened, and I will open that tree. You can see I experimented actually with a couple of trees. So I'm going to open the tree. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop this tree down to a rectangle shape. So I'm just going to come down. Again, I don't care about the leaf edges. That's all going to be taken care of in Illustrator. So I'm going to sort of crop off the top, crop up the sides, crop up the sides, crop up the bottom. Again, making sure that I got some darks maybe on the bottom right and lighter ones on the top right. So maybe I'll shift the image a little bit, maybe come in to get rid of that edge here, and I'll say okay, that looks pretty good enough. Now we can see we've got some blue areas, which are sky beyond, which are definitely lighter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the background layer and just say okay to make it an active layer. And I'm going to right click over here and duplicate layer and say okay, and I'm going to go to the bottom layer. Actually, I'm going to go to the top layer first. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my blending mode to darken. Some other ones would probably work, but what it's going to allow me to do is the light areas are going to see through to the bottom areas. It looks the same because these two layers are currently the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start just by shifting over that bottom layer over to sort of meet those areas. The issue is now it's looking a little bit like I just moved the same thing and we can see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do edit, free transform, which I did with Control T, which is why it happened quicker. And I'm just going to sort of make this image nice and bigger and sort of move it down to the problematic areas and make sure it sort of fills the screen a little bit, like that, something like that. And once it gets bigger, it's sort of going to take away, especially if I make it out of proportion, it's going to take away the fact that that's the same tree. And so then I'll double click, and now we've sort of gotten rid of those light blue areas, and we have a solid or I should say it's solid green because obviously it has a lot of texture to it. So what it's going to do is I'm going to do File, Save As. I'm going to save it as a JPEG. I'm going to save it as a JPEG. I'll say Save. Oh, I'm going to change the name so it doesn't overrate it. So I'll say Tree Pattern and Pattern 2. I'll call it 2 here, and I'll say and maximum is okay. There we go. And I'll go back into Illustrator. Now this is the key step here. Let me minimize this. What I had to do is I had to place this image in. Okay, I'm going to place it in. I'm going to find that JPEG I just shaved, which is Tree Pattern 2, is right here. Now by default your link is going to be checked. Alright, I'm going to uncheck this link because I'm going to use this tree in lots of files, and if I link it, it is going to get stuck in the area. And furthermore, to give a little, it's going to be, it needs to, if it links, I need to carry this file near whatever file I'm doing. It gets problematic. Also, by unlinking it, I can make this thing not an actual object, but I can make it a pattern, which is going to give me some flexibility when I go to use this tree in here. So again, select a file, make sure it's unlinked. I'm going to place it in. All right, and oops, I am in. Don't worry about this. I was actually in mask because that's part of the tree here. So I'm going to try this again. File, place. Select that pattern. For you wouldn't have done that. This wouldn't be an issue. Make sure it's unlinked. Go to place. Just click and drop it in. Again, you want it to be bigger than the patterns you're working with. This one might be a little small, so I might just grab it, make it bigger a little bit to make sure it fits. If I made it the same size as my original, I can do that. And again, proportionality doesn't inherently matter too much, and that's how you do it. Sort of the last thing I want to do, again, this is for flexibility sort of moving forward. I'm going to make this a swatch. So I'm going to open my swatches, and I'm just going to take this guy and drop it in, and now it's a swatch. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to draw a rectangle or anything else up here, and I can hit the swatch. Oops, I did the stroke. I don't want the stroke to be the swatch. I wanted the fill to be the swatch. So I'm going to come here and hit the swatch I just made, and there we go. So it takes on that pattern. And that is not 100% necessary for this step, but it is actually important for when you go and use it. And I'll show you that in the last video here where we use that, why making it a swatch and putting it in here really helps. So I've got this pattern here, and that's the end. What I'll do next is I'll show you how to turn this black stuff, these black leaves, to combine it with this pattern so it looks like this.